Have you ever sat in a meeting and just had absolutely no freaking clue what they were talking about? No, I'm serious. Like, sat in a meeting, technical meeting, your senior VPs and your leads and all that stuff are having a deep conversation, and you're sitting there like, la 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 la, because you genuinely have no fucking clue what they're talking about. As far as you're concerned, it's a foreign language, and it sucks. Like, I've been there. I have been in those meetings, and it definitely sucks. And then even worse, you get asked by one of the leads for your opinion on the matter, and you're like, yeah, it totally makes sense. And you genuinely inside are saying like, I have no clue. Like, let me just agree with the consensus, makes sense. Or you try to like pull a thread that's tangentially related, be like, oh, totally makes sense, but we should worry about this thing up here and make sure that that causes zero problems. Totally unrelated, but it just, you're trying to come off as if you understand what the hell's going on. And then the meeting ends and you go back to your desk and you're feeling anxious, maybe nervous, or maybe you have a sense that you just don't belong here. And this is imposter syndrome. And I felt this. I am now a decade into my career and I cannot count the times that I've felt like an absolute imposter, like, what the hell am I doing? So if you feel personally attacked by anything I just said, stick around for this video because I'm gonna give you 3 actionable tips and things that I genuinely use myself on how to combat and beat imposter syndrome as a software engineer. Tip number 1, and I've said this many times before, is to give yourself the space, the grace, and have the confidence to publicly say, I don't know the answer. Now, this isn't a get out of jail free card. You still need to go and find the answer. But just being totally transparent does a couple really amazing things both for you and your team. For example, I have been leading technical projects for the last couple years now, and when I get asked a question from my bosses, whether it be in a planning or a retro, and they ask me something and I'm like, oh goodness, like I really don't know the answer to that, let me get back to you. Here's what it does. It creates a safe space for all of your developers to come to you and give you that same answer. I don't know, but let me go figure it out. And here's why that's awesome. First and foremost, you might notice that your reviews and retros actually become kind of enjoyable. You know, the space where people actually want to talk and engage with one another. I've been a part of many teams where it is seriously one freaking person talking all of review, all of retro, and it's just boring and it's painfully awkward. And even worse, a quiet retro literally gives you zero, gives you nothing to work together to better your team. And as a leader, the second thing, it really shows me where the knowledge and skill gaps are across the team. Like I said, as a team, we need to come up with the answer. Saying I don't know is not a get out of jail free card. You still need to get the answer. But acknowledging and identifying these gaps in technologies or skill sets, personality traits, whatever it may be, what this allows you to do is plan better, to get on some courses, some documentation, buy some books, go to a freaking conference, get certified, all of those things. And they just become part of the day-to-day job rather than like a anomaly or a one-off case, the more that you're transparent and you speak up. And the last thing, you could blow smoke and just say, yeah, I totally know what you're saying, and then go back and try to panic and figure it out. But if you tell the truth and you're being fully transparent and you're saying, I don't know, it does one major thing for both you and your team, and that's to build trust. And trust in our business goes a very long way. Tip number 2 is to reframe your tech journey. It's really easy to feel like an imposter when you are sitting in that meeting and they are talking about things that you just don't understand. And here is what changed for me. And that was to recognize that everyone's tech journey looks different, and that's a good thing. Like your software architecture, we all have our own unique tech stack. We all have our own personality traits, have the things that we enjoy doing, have the things we hate doing. Hell, you might have a teammate that is a S-tier, godlike DevOps person, but they're absolutely shit at the front end. And you might be the opposite. Maybe you're great at the front end, and you're like, Terraform. Don't fucking put me anywhere close to Terraform. And if you look past all this individualism and see that you are part of something so much bigger and so much greater, and that you get to play a very specific role for your team and your company. Look, the matter of fact is the company is not just going to give you a salary just to have a headcount. Like, I know we hear horror stories on how that happens, but 99.9% of the time, that is not the case. Whether it's your personality or your skill set, a combination of the two of them, you have a very specific role to play. And you matter. And without the amalgamation of all the things that make you, you wouldn't be there. And instead of comparing yourself to others saying, oh, I should know this by now, change that mindset to, I get to learn this now, so that you can build and strengthen your own unique skill tree. So here's what you can do. The next time you catch yourself comparing yourself to others, stop and write down 3 things that uniquely make you you. And these aren't just 3 random things. Find 3 things that you can bring to your team that are uniquely you. For example, something that I naturally bring to my team that I think is uniquely me is I'm generally a motivated, hype man, go-getter type mentality, and I know that's not for everybody. Some people are like, dude, let me clock in and clock out and stick my head down in the sand and do my work. That's fine. That's obviously not me. It's why I love coaching, mentoring, lifting others up. Heck, it's why I do these YouTube videos. It is something that I'm genuinely passionate about. Clearly I love it. And I bring that uniquely to the team. Not everybody's like that. I might have another developer that is an absolute slayer at optimizing a Webpack build, and I hate that shit. We all bring our own unique skills, and you do too. The last tip is to find some daily habits to build real confidence, and here's what I do. Every morning, I start with my cup of coffee, or my fun drink, of course, and I spend 15 minutes with my notebook or my whiteboard, and I go through this 3 5-minute segment exercise. The first 5 minutes is what I call the brain dump and review. This is where, without great detail, you just dump everything. Things that you felt uncertain about, let alone like uncomfortable, just felt uncertain about. Any kind of questions you had, whether it be technical or like why does it do this, why does it do that, about a product you have, any kind of questions on a technical product that you might be implementing soon. And then go ahead and list one thing that you figured out from the day before, and then wrap it up with any technical challenge that you know are upcoming that kind of make you nervous. The next 5-minute section is what I call action planning. And this is where you pick a single bullet from your first 5-minute segment and you try to find 2 to 3 resources you know that you can use to solve this problem. This may be a colleague, this may be some documentation or a YouTube tutorial. You don't need to be overly specific here, but if you know that Jeremy knows Spring Boot and you have questions about Spring Boot, write Jeremy's name down. And then you put this plan into action by scheduling 30 minutes on your calendar. No shit. Get your calendar out right now and find a 30-minute block of when you're gonna go ping Jeremy and get his advice on what you're gonna do with Spring Boot. The last 5 minutes are to build real confidence. Start this off by writing one thing that you are technically really good at. And then follow that up by writing a short note on how you got good at it. And then finish this one off by reviewing a win from the day you had yesterday. And if you're starting this now, just pick something. It doesn't have to be something you wrote down yesterday. Just pick something out of the last week. I'm sure you have multiple small wins that you can account for. But today, you'll be able to write down some of your wins here and how you got good at them so that tomorrow you have something to review. And here's why that this 15 minutes works so well. For a couple reasons. One, you're not just acknowledging the imposter syndrome. That is part of the battle. It's cool to be an imposter. It's not cool to not do anything about it. So this plan actually gives you real evidence, something that's tangible and a ritual that you do every day so that you can actually work towards and work with your imposter syndrome. It doesn't go away. Things get harder, your pay grade goes up, you get more responsibilities. Imposter syndrome happens all the time. I'm a decade into this career and it still happens to me. But I use these tips to not run away from imposter syndrome and instead work with it. And by following these 3 daily habits, these 5-minute sections, it gives me real evidence that I've done this before. I've had harder problems and I worked myself through it. And over time, by doing this every single day, just like interest, this will compound. So those are my 3 tips on how you can actually work with your imposter syndrome rather than running away. And if you have any amazing tips, drop a comment down below. I really love hashing things out back and forth with the community. I got a couple comments in the last video of slightly agreeing with my opinion on something, but they're like, oh, what about this one little bit? And they were totally right. I just overlooked it, and that's what I love about working with y'all and putting out these videos and building a community, because I get to learn things too. And that's it. Ego stays at the door. We're all here to learn. We're all here to have fun. I'm proud of you. Go do something amazing today, and I'll see you next week. Peace.